Let's start with a little bit of a college football hot seat. Billy Napier won't last past week 4. That is the head coach of Florida football. Remember, coming off of their shocking upset this weekend, Billy Napier won't make it past week 4. Fact or feeling?
It was a shocking upset that included one of the dumbest penalties that I have ever seen in college football, which also includes a Florida penalty that was taken a few years ago when a player literally threw a shoe and cost them a trip to the college football playoff. That was, of course, when a Florida, shoe game, legendary here in this household. It was a Florida player spit on a USF player. Like, why are we spitting on each other? Stop doing that. This is feeling for right now. Florida has a gauntlet of a schedule this whole season, but coming up over the next couple of weeks, they go to LSU in Death Valley, a very hard place to play, the number 3 team in the country. And then, by the way, they turn around and go on the road to Miami, another top 5 team with a veteran quarterback in Carson Beck. So if Billy Napier loses those 2 games, I would say yes. I think that Florida boosters are starting to collect all of their pennies and all of their shekels for Billy Napier's buyout. But if Billy Napier turns around and beats LSU at LSU and beats Miami at Miami, well, then all of a sudden the vibes are incredibly different. And maybe we could look at that USF loss the same way that we might look at Notre Dame's loss to Northern Illinois last season. And that was the turning point. That was the kind of, smack in the face that they needed to kind of wake up and turn their season around. I think, though, the former is more likely, that Florida is just not a very good football team. That Billy Napier beat Ole Miss and Florida State and LSU to finish out the season last year, and maybe that was enough to put a Band-Aid on the bullet hole. That was the first couple of years of the Billy Napier tenure, but I do tend to think that Billy Napier's time in Gainesville is much shorter than it is more optimistic.
And that's why I don't think this is feeling. I think this is fact. Like you say, if they win these games, great. Yeah. I mean, if I walk into a trampoline park and do a 360 dunk, maybe the Slam Ball League will finally sign me to the contract I've always deserved. I just don't think it's likely to happen, right? So there is some element to me of like, yeah, certainly if they were to pull off a massive upset the next few weeks, it changes everything. I just don't think they will. And in fact, if anything, I think they're in danger of just getting absolutely destroyed over the course of the next couple of weeks. That schedule is brutal. And what happened at the end of last year is one of the toughest things that happens in college football in general. When a team and a coach goes on a hot streak at the end of a season, you as an administration have to decide, is this an instance where they've turned the corner and things have gotten better? Or is this just a moment where your team got hot and you got the right wins at the right time? Right now, it certainly looks like maybe it was more likely that Florida got hot. And while that makes you feel better about things at the moment, it doesn't mean that you've actually turned the corner. And I'm not sure that Billy Napier has actually done anything here that's going to make boosters feel better. Once you have gotten to the point where you are almost going to fire somebody, it doesn't take very much to get right back to that same point. I think what we saw combined with what we're going to see over the next few weeks means Billy Napier is the first man out in the SEC, and that happens in the next few weeks. Let's keep the fact or feeling going. How about this? Fact or feeling, Clemson is broken.
I think that's feeling, but man, oh man, did they look broken in that first half against Troy.
Right?
Troy. Oh, it was brutal. But I think it is feeling right now just because, Clemson loses week 1. That gets compounded with a way closer game than it needed to be against a team that Clemson really should have blown out of the water. They are not broken until Clemson wins multiple games in the ACC. Because I still look at it right now. I still think that Clemson is a contender to win the ACC and to get into the college football playoff just based off of the talent on that roster alone. They have like 3 or 4 future first-round picks on that defense alone. So no, they're not broken, but it really did feel like it in the first half, Fitzy.
Yeah, and they've got some games coming up in front of them that are winnable. But you and I think, are part of the Georgia Tech fan club in general for the way that program runs.
President reporting for duty.
This gets interesting. Gets interesting really quickly because how do we define broken? If it's, hey, is Clemson going to be competitive in the ACC? No, they're not broken. But is Clemson going to be a national championship contender? I don't know. So I think right now it's feeling, but boy, it won't take much to go from feeling to fact. How about a little bit of individual fact or feeling? Dust is settled. Biggest win over the weekend, you could argue, was Oklahoma just absolutely taking it to Michigan, right? Like, and some of the work there was really, really good. So the question is, John Mateer, can he win the Heisman? Fact or feeling, Oklahoma quarterback?
Fact. Total fact. You did not hear me stutter. Absolutely. I think that John Mateer can be a Heisman Trophy candidate. And going back to SEC Media Days, John Mateer was like the hot new bombshell that entered the villa. Everyone was encapsulated and just totally enamored with John Mateer, his presence, his confidence, the swagger about him. And of course, the swagger and the confidence is great and all, but let's see you do it on the field. I think we've seen that come to fruition on the football field and has really revived an Oklahoma fan base that has been down in the dumps. And this Oklahoma team has a ton of talent around it. Last year, they were just injury bitten. The offensive line had a ton of injuries. They were down several of their top receivers at some points last year. So they went into the transfer portal. They supplemented some of the areas that needed to be supplemented. And John Mateer, I think you're seeing earlier, you just see his stat line right there, 344 yards, 3 touchdowns, only 1 interception against a solid Michigan defense. I think that John Mateer can absolutely be in that conversation. 1, because of what he's done, and 2, because I don't think that there is one player, at least through 2 weeks so far, Fitzy, that has separated himself as the absolute have to watch him, pop off the page type of player in an SEC that feels incredibly wide open.
You see there that at BetMGM currently he's second in the Heisman running. It's fact that he could win. I think it's fact he should be the Heisman favorite. And a couple of reasons that this plays into it. One is, at this point, Heisman moments are going to be there for him galore. Obviously, Oklahoma has to win these games, but I'm with you. Oklahoma has the talent to win a lot of football games. And also, the expectation wasn't necessarily as high coming into the season as it was for some of the guys like Nussmeier that you see there, Beck that you see there. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes voters fall in love with oh, wow, that's a great story, sort of the momentum that comes with this. Oklahoma football, if they're able to get through this gauntlet of a schedule that they have over the course of the next couple of months, if they find themselves in the playoff, the wins that it will have taken to do that will give him so many opportunities for signature wins, plus the momentum that comes from all of that. Yeah, I think not only is he a Heisman, can he win the Heisman? I think as we sit right now, Mateer should be the Heisman favorite moving forward. Let's get one more.
Listen to this stretch, though, Fitzy. Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, LSU.
That's exactly,
Oklahoma's schedule.
And that's why, it's there in front of you. If he gets through that gauntlet, he's a Heisman. Now, as I said earlier, if I dunked on a trampoline, I get it. It's a tough if, but we'll see where it goes. One more factor feeling from the other side of it. Bryce Underwood looks lost. Factor feeling.
I think that's fact right now. He did look a little lost against Oklahoma. That's not to say that Bryce Underwood can't figure things out and find more confidence. So I think that's fact right now. But also, what did we expect? Bryce Underwood is a true freshman. He just turned 18 years old. And his second game as a starter in college football, he was playing Oklahoma, a team that I think we all view as potential college football playoff contenders. So yes, it's fact. It's okay. He's young. He'll learn. But he looked like a true freshman.
And that's, to your point, Brent Venables did his job. Brent Venables' job is to make him look like a true freshman. That's all he did. I think it's feeling that he's lost only because I think just at some point you can just get your ass kicked and it doesn't mean that you're lost. And that's what happened. There is so much left for him to learn. It doesn't mean he's lost. He'll figure it out. He's immensely talented and going to end up being, I think, one of the best quarterbacks in college football. And all of those things are in front of him. And also, just to your point, he was seeing things in that matchup he hasn't seen, he may not see again. I don't think that suddenly they opened a book on him. I think one of the better defensive minds in college football came up with one of the better game plans, and particularly a defense that does a great job at disguising what they're doing. They got in the way of somebody that hasn't seen a lot of defenses that do that. So long-term, Bryce is going to be fine. I think we agree on that. But even short-term, I don't think he's lost. I just think he got his ass kicked for one Saturday.
And we'll see. Look, and maybe that's a good thing. You see that kind of defense, you see that kind of team early, then you can watch the tape, you can learn from it. All of a sudden, the game starts to slow down a little bit more and more and more, the more that you see, early on. If Bryce Underwood takes on the, East-West state directional school for the first 4 weeks, what is he really going to learn from a team that is so outmatched taking on Michigan?
Yeah, there's so little to at this point. Bryce Underwood has so little tape. We just got to figure out more, and we will over the course
But
of time.
optimism. I think Bryce Underwood's going to be fantastic.
100%. We agree on that.